Okay, so this video is going to serve as a reference for rotations because we've been over it enough times in practice that at this point we don't want to spend more time in practice going over what each rotation is. So this video is going to serve as a review so that if you're ever confused, you can go back to this at any time and make sure you know rotations as Ethan and myself are going to be referring to them. That way, there's no confusion in the future. If you're confused in practice, we will still correct you, but this hopefully makes it so that we don't have any issues in our upcoming tournament and then in practices after that. Because one of the things that I want everybody to realize is if one person is out of rotation, 6 people, well, 7 because of libero, 7 people lose the point. We lose the point as a team. Even if one person is out of rotation, we all lose that point. So if you notice, hey, our right side's out of rotation, or hey, our setter's out of rotation, or hey, our libero's out of rotation, tell them. Tell them because we don't want to lose that point. We don't want to give the other team free points, and when we lose that point, they also get to serve. We don't want to give them free serve opportunities. We don't want to give them free points, right? We want them to give us free points. So if they're out of rotation, don't say anything. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Anyway, so just for reference at the top, in case anybody doesn't remember their serve locations, that is area 1. That is the person who serves first. That is order of people who serve. So 2 is the next person to serve, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6. Now the basic rotation 1, is called that because the setter is in area 1. That is why rotation 1 is called rotation 1. Then you have, after the setter, you have OH1, middle, right side, OH2, and then the other middle / where the libero is. Now the libero is always going to be back row, so whichever middle is back row gets that libero. So that's the basic rotation. That's called rotation 1. The setter is in 1. The rules for rotation, I'm going to go over this now, and then you'll see it in action as we talk about the other rotations, but I'll explain the rules now. So for each person, you only have to worry about the people adjacent to you. So the middle front person doesn't have to worry about OH2, doesn't have to worry about where the setter is. Those people don't matter. What matters to that middle is that right side, the other middle in the back row, and that outside. Because for this middle can go to the right side. It can't go to this middle, can't be to the left of the right side, can't be to the right of that outside, and has to be in front of this middle. So in this vague box I just drew, that middle can be anywhere. That middle can be here. That middle can be here. The middle can be here. The middle can be here. The middle can be anywhere in that box. The middle has to stay in that imaginary box. So when we do our serve receive rotations, we're basically just manipulating the boxes and changing where they are because the boxes move with the people. So if that outside wasn't over here, but instead that outside is over here, that box just got smaller. Now there's a lot smaller of an area the middle could be than before. This applies to everybody. So if you are in the middle front location or in the middle back location, you have to worry about 3 people. Everyone else only has to worry about 2. So outside hitter 1 only has to worry about that middle, and that setter has to be to the right of this middle and in front of the setter. Now, just so you know, I say to the right. To be more specific, you just can't be to the left. If the middle and the OH were stacked like this, that's fine. But that OH just can't be over here. Stacked on top of each other is fine because there's no way to exactly tell where you are. So if you want to be safe, you can stay a little bit off to make sure you're fine. I'm never going to complain about you making sure you're definitely in rotation. But just so you know, stacking is fine. You just can't be on the other side. Now, with these locations, the first thing we're going to talk about is when we're serving. So when we're serving, the setter's back here. Right here, I'm going to add stacking to the takeaways. Can stack. And then this other thing I'm about to mention. When you're talking about overlap, where the server is does not influence that overlap in the slightest. Okay? So the setter is back here. The setter is serving. This outside and that middle doesn't care where the setter serves from. The setter can serve from here. The setter can serve from here. The setter can serve from anywhere. It does not influence what the people on the court do. So I'm just going to write in the middle for sake of convenience. Setter serving over here. Now, when we're serving, outside, middle back, the outside two, starts in base because that is the place where they have to move the most. So we want them to start in base so they don't have to run to get into position. They start in position because they have all of this back line to cover. And then we have libero / middle over here, and they run to their base over there. When the serve goes, libero to their base. They start on the line because their base is on the line. I don't want my liberos starting over here and then having to run at a diagonal. That's more distance. Start on the 10-foot line, run in a straight line. Make your life easy. Now, same thing as this OH2. Middles, block from the middle of the court, they have to do the most running. So our middle is going to start in the middle because they're blocking everywhere. And our outside and our right side are going to stack, and that outside is going to run to his base, and that right side is going to run to his base. Okay? Middle starts in the middle. The outside goes over there. The right side goes over there. That's when we're serving. Does that make sense to everybody? If it doesn't, watch it again. Now, serve receive is different. Serve receive is always more complicated than serving. Because when we're serving, the middle starts in the middle, the back middle starts in the back middle, everyone else moves around. That is a constant. They just start there. Now, when we're serving, every time we're in serve receive, there are two outsides of passing and the libero. So, outside two is just right there. So the outside can pass there. The libero can pass right there. And then outside one passes here. Now, if you remember the rules for the setter has to stay behind that outside to this side of the libero. So the setter's fine. That outside has to just stay in front of the setter, so that's fine. Because the middle has to be on this side of the outside, instead of just putting the middle in the middle, which is fine, but that's a difficult transition because you're running straight back and then straight forward, we put the middle over here. So then that middle can go here to go to base, and then straight forward to run the 1, or from here, make it look like you're running a 1 and then going out for the 31. But you go start there, you go there. And now, because that middle's there, the right side has to follow. That right side goes right there. When we're in serve receive 1, we do what's called hitter stays all. So that right side transitions out and hits on the outside, and that outside, after they pass, or if they don't pass, they transition out, then they hit on the right side. And the right side hits on the right side, but I'm not going to draw that arrow because there's a middle in the way. Right? So that's rotation 1. Now, if you look, all of these rules that I established over here and this orientation that I established over here are being followed by our players, right? Now, on to rotation 2. Rotation 2, so if you look at rotation 1, rotation 2 is, or all the rotations after rotation 1 are called by who is serving from where they are in rotation 1. So if you look at our little chart up here that I accidentally erased, uh, right? Setter is in 1 when you serve. In rotation 1, the setter is in 1. In rotation 2, the person who started in 2 is in 1, is serving. In rotation 3, the person that started in 3 is serving. In rotation 4, the person that started in 4 is serving. Rotation 5, etc. In rotation 6, etc. Does that make sense? That is one of the train of thoughts of how the rotations got their name. Otherwise, you just think of it as rotation 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, and then once you go, then you're back in rotation 1. So it's either rotation 1 and then the serving thing, or it's literally just 2 is 1 more than 1, 3 is 1 more than 2, etc., etc. Anyway, this is where they are in rotation 1. So rotation 2, we all move over. We have our setter middle back, our outside was front row serving, middle is here, right side here, the outside that was back row is now front row, and middle / libero is there. So when this happens, like I mentioned earlier, we don't care about the person who's serving for the sake of rotation. So when we're serving, the setter can just start in base, and that libero can just start in base, because that's fine. The setter just has to be to the right of the libero. That's true right now. And this outside doesn't influence it at all, because they're off the court serving. You only influence rotations when you're on the court. If you're supposed to be on the court and you stand off the court, you lose the points, so stay on the court. Middle goes in the middle like always. This outside is in base already, so they just stay. The only thing that happens is that right side runs over. And then after the middle serves, they go to their base right there. That's all the movement on rotation 2. For defense, it is really easy. When we're serving, it's a really easy movement. Okay, does that make sense? Now look, outside, right side, middle, outside, right side, middle. We follow the rules of rotation. This setter is further back than that right side. Then now we're good. This libero is further back than that outside. We're good. This middle can be as far back as they want because this outside's off the court. So that middle can technically be back here, and that follows the rules of rotation. Please, middle, stay in front of the 10-foot line, but just for the sake of example. Now, so that's when we are serving. Let's go into serve, receive. Now for serve, receive, as a general rule, this is the next thing I'm going to add to this text box. Front row OH passes in 5. Asterisks. Because in rotation 1, that's not true. Every other rotation, that's correct. So using this rule, front row outside passes here. OH2 is passing here. Now if OH2 is passing here, the libero has to be here, and this libero has to be standing behind this outside, right? This libero cannot be here because this outside has to be in front of this libero. So normally they don't call you on that, but some refs are stingy. So make sure that if you're the libero, you're behind that front row outside. So outside's here, libero's there. This other outside is also passing here. Now, the rules for the setter means that the setter has to be in between this libero and this outside, right? That's where the setter is. It has to be in between this libero and this outside. So the setter goes over here. But how can the setter be so tight to the net? How can the setter be so tight to the net? It's because they're closer to the net than the right side. So the right side has to go right on the net right there. So the setter's right there, right side's right on the net. And then the middle goes over here. So this middle, and then for the sake of transition, this outside passes, transitions off, and then goes to hit. This right side goes out here and then transitions forward. And then this middle goes over here, goes to this spot over here, then transitions forward. That's the movement for our people, right? So yeah, I'll rewrite the front row people because I erased the right side. If you want to take a photo, now would be the time. If you're confused about rotation 2, I didn't realize that still said 1. If you're confused about rotation 2, that's what the serve receive looks like. We already talked about what we look like when we're serving. Now we go on to rotation 3. And let me remember to write these rotations again. Right? So outside just served, so the outside's now there. Setter's there. If that outside's there, then that means the middle's there, the middle who started in 3. Now, middle's there, right side's there. Right side's also called the opposite because they're always opposite in the rotation to the setter. Other front row outside's there, other middle's there. Right? So when we're serving, the middle's back here, or the libero can only serve for one middle, so if the libero served for this middle, the libero is not serving for the other middle. The libero can also serve for neither middle, but the libero can only serve for one. So, libero's there. Like we said, back middle stays back middle, so our back middle outside starts in back middle, and the setter starts here and then runs to base. Right? And like we said, front middle stays front middle, so the middle stays in the middle. The right side's already where they're supposed to be, so they don't have to move, and this outside has to go from here over there. Right? Does everybody make sense to everybody? I'm going to assume you all said yes. If you don't understand, replay the video. Or this section. You don't need to watch the entire thing again. So, that's when we're serving. Serving is generally pretty easy to understand. Now on to serve, receive. Is it? No, it is definitely EI. Serve, receive. Now, libero just served, so the libero can be here. This outside can be here, and like we always say, front row outside passes in 5, so front row outside is over here. Now this setter has to be on this side of this outside and in front of the middle. So the setter goes right here so they can run to base. The middle goes in this little corner because that way they're closer to the net than the setter. And the right side is just over here, as close as they can to be fully transitioned because we want this right side to be able to just take 2 steps back, in position, take a swing. This outside takes a transition out, goes over, takes a swing. The middle has to go all the way over here, then takes a swing. Generally, you'll notice in rotations that that the middle is the least important person for serve receive and the most important person when we're serving. We base all of our serving rotation off where the middle is. We base none of our serve receive rotation off where the middle is. So the middle gets put in the corner a lot. So middles, when in doubt, go to the corner. You're probably correct. So setter runs over there, then runs back. That's rotation 3. And then I just want to say something because I realize I haven't. When we're here, and let's say we served and then the ball goes over the net, everybody goes back to base. This right side goes over here. That middle, from wherever they were on the court, goes back to the middle. This outside goes front row. This outside drops back. That libero passes over there. And the setter makes their way over there for defense. When we send the ball over the net, we go back to base on defense. I don't want to see my outsides playing right back. I don't want to see my liberos playing middle back unless we take a timeout and definitively make that switch. Go to base. You should always play defense where you're supposed to. In fact, I'm going to create a permanent box that has the defensive positionings so you guys cannot be confused. After we send the ball over, we want the front row outside here. We want the front row outside there, the back row outside there, the middle there, libero there, right side slash setter there, and whichever one. If the setter's front row, the setter's there. If the setter's back row, the setter's there. Right side, reverse. This is where you guys go to play defense after we send the ball. Always. This does not change. This never changes. Okay? Good. Now, on to rotation number 4 for serving. I'm just going to erase it. So I don't have to redraw everything. Okay, rotation number 4. Setter just got front row. So the outside's here. Middle is there. Right side serving. Other outside is there. And our other middle is there. Okay? Right side serving. So, like we said, middle back stays middle back. The OH1 is back here. And our libero is here, runs to play defense. Middle stays middle. And now the outside hitter, who's front row, and the setter, who's front row, have to run to base. So the outside hitter goes over there, the setter goes over there, and the middle stays in the middle. This right side, after they serve, goes over there. Right? This part should be easy at this point. You've seen me do it 3 times. The rules don't change. When we're serving, it's always pretty straightforward. Now, rotation 4, serve receive. Now, what's the middle for serve receive? The front row outside passes over here. So OH2 is over there. Libero is over here. OH1 is over here. Our right sides generally don't pass. If we make the right sides pass, we'll tell you how we're changing this because that's going to be a weird scenario. But the right side doesn't pass. If you look, the back row is all stuck to this little box. Outside one, libero, right side. So this right side just has to stay on that side of the libero. Has to stay closer to the right line than our libero. Okay? Now, if the outside's over here, then the middle has to be on this little side of the outside. If the middle's over here, then the setter has to be over here. So the setter is really stuck in the corner for this one rotation. This is why this is a rotation where teams get stuck in for the longest, because the setter has to go all the way over there. And imagine it's a bad pass, or it's not even a bad pass, but imagine the pass is high, but it's over here. The setter has to run all the way over there, then turn around. So they have a hard time getting to those balls. So when we're in rotation 4 and the setter's in the front row, pass extra high. This rotation, extra high pass, please. I beg you. Onegaishimasu. Extra high pass. Okay? So that's rotation 4. Next rotation would be rotation 5, because we count up. So rotation 5 has the setter in there. OH1 is there. If you remember rotation 1, our other outside is in rotation, starts in rotation 5, so they serve for rotation 5. Our middle is over there, our right side is opposite the setter, and then our other middle is there. Now, for rotation 5, serving. Now, when we're in rotation 5, we have outside serving, and when the person's serving, they don't matter for rotations. So libero starts in base, the right side starts in base. This should look familiar. The middle's over here, this outside's already in position, so the setter is the only one who has to go. If this sounds familiar, this is the exact same thing as when rotation 2, when the other outside was serving, but the right side and the setter have flipped. That's the only difference. It's identical otherwise. Now, on to serve receive. Rotation 5 serve receive. So, front row outside passes here. OH1. Libero passes over here. Now, if you notice, the libero is over here, so the right side, and then the other outside passes here. So the right side has to be in between these two people because that's where they are in the rotation. So right side stands right there. Now, setter has to be in front of the right side. That's basically everywhere on the court and to the right of the middle. So this is going to look exactly like rotation 2, just without the right side at the net. So setter starts in base, middle starts over here, and it's the same deal. This middle runs over here to swing. Right? This middle goes da 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 da, hit. And the entire time when the setter's front row, the setter can dump, and we can also run the right side attack over here. So if you're back row right side, be ready to get the set because that is your primary job. Your job is to hit. That was rotation 5. It's basically just identical to rotation 2. Now let's go on to rotation 6, which is the last one we haven't done. Serving. So when we're talking about rotation 6, the important part for me personally, so rotation 6, this one is important because if we do the coin flip at the beginning and we win and we serve first, the setter starts in rotation 1. If we lose, we start in rotation 6. We do rotation 6 serve receive, and then the setter is our first server in rotation 1. That's generally how rotations work. So we either start the game in rotation 1 serving or rotation 6 serve receive. Anyway, setter's over here, so outside 1 is over here, middle, right side's over there, outside 2 is there, and then the other middle / libero is there. So let's pretend libero is serving, middle back stays middle back, outside 2 is there, right side is there, runs to base. I'll just leave that arrow. Middle front stays middle front. Setter is already blocking where they're supposed to, so outside 1 goes over there to block. Okay? Does that make sense? Good, because this should look familiar. If you remember rotation 3, the setter was back there and the right side was up there. Otherwise, it's identical. The rules don't change, so there tends to be a lot of symmetry in what we do. So that's serving. Now on to serve receive. Rotation 6 serve receive. The setter is just exactly where they're supposed to be. Front row outside, passes in 5, so OH1's there. OH2 is there because that's just where they are in rotation, and libero's there. The right side can be anywhere on this part of the OH2. Generally, I want them as close as they can because they're hitting over here, so they have to run a while. So starting all the way in the back corner just means they have to run even further. Right? The right side could stay. If the right side was all the way over there, they just have to run even further to make it to where they're supposed to hit. So generally, I want them to start over the way over here, but your preference. You can be in this back corner if it makes you feel happy. That's all good with me. Now, this middle just has to be on this side of that outside, so the middle is over here in the corner again. You don't have to be in the corner middle. I just draw you over there. You can be over here if that makes you happier. But the middle just has to be on this side of the outside, as close or as far to the net as they want to be. Right? Does that make sense? That is all 6 rotations. That only took me way too long to get through. Please feel free to watch this on 2 or 3 times speed. Just review, or just mute me and watch the arrows. This is as in-depth of a rotation video as you can get, and is exactly how we are going to do it in-game and in practice. So if you know this like the back of your hand, then you should never be confused. And I would recommend, because I went so slow, please know your rotation and know one other position, be it the other position you want to play. Just know where you're supposed to go And if you know where everywhere else is supposed to go, then that means that if one person's out of rotation, we have 5 other people on the court, and we have 5 other people on the court who can tell the person who's out of rotation, hey, you're out of rotation. Right? This is a team sport. 6 of you, you have 6 of you to make sure you get the rotation correct. It should never be, oh, I forgot. Because if you forgot, that also meant everyone else forgot and either decided not to say anything to cost all of us, or they just also forgot, or they didn't notice. If you don't notice, you don't notice. But if you notice, say something, because we all lose the point if you lose the point. All right, perfect.